The California Constitution does not require in any words that there be a conviction for victims to be heard in a criminal case where they wish to give victim impact statements.
Gloria Allred has been a vocal advocate for women's rights. The high-profile attorney has represented dozens of victims of discrimination and abuse over the course of her 4 decades-long legal career. And she will soon be here in our city to talk about the ongoing fight for women's rights and equality as the keynote speaker at the YWHISPER fundraising gala. Gloria joins me now. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you very much for inviting me to call.
Of course. So as mentioned, you are the keynote speaker at the 11th annual YWHISPER Gala on International Women's Day. How does your work line up with YW Calgary?
Well, we are the leading women's rights law firm in the United States, and we have been for approximately 47 years. And I know that the Y, particularly in Calgary, does everything possible to help to inspire women and to empower women and to support women. So I'm perfectly aligned with them, and I'm excited to hear more about their work, as well as to speak to those who come to the gala. And I'm excited to share some of the many victories we have won for women and what women can do in their own lives, and also politically and economically and socially and legally, to advance rights for women in Canada and, for that matter, around the world.
Absolutely. And one of the things I find very inspiring about you is that you also have a personal connection to a lot of the cases you work on. Can you tell me more about that?
Well, yes. I'm a partner in my law firm. I was one of the 3 partners who founded this law firm. And yes, I'm very much involved in many of our cases, not just those which are high profile, and we have a number of those, but also those which are resulting in confidential settlements, and you will never hear about who those clients or victims are and what the allegations were in their case, because they are settled without a public lawsuit, without a press conference, because that's what the client has chosen and has decided that's in her best interest. Of course, even with the confidential settlement, let's say for a rape victim or a child sexual abuse victim, they could still go to the police, but many of them don't want to be public, so they choose not to do that. And I'm all about options and helping victims to understand the benefits and risks of any option they choose. So I think the status quo doesn't favor women in any country. And we have to be ever vigilant about our rights. For example, in Canada, you have the legal right to choose abortion, but I understand it's not accessible to many women, to rural women, sometimes to poor women, sometimes to young women, or women of color. And so if it's not accessible, is that really a right? A right has to have meaning. And so we're going to talk about what happens, what's happening to Roe v. Wade, the right to choose abortion in the United States, and how we can all push forward to win rights in our own country, in our own provinces, in our own states. And I'm just excited to work with the Y on that, because they've done so many great things for women in the past.
Right. And speaking of Roe v. Wade, you actually worked very closely on that case representing Norma McCorvey, better known as Jane Roe, in the Roe v. Wade case. And now it's been less than a year since that 1973 ruling was overturned. So what impact have you seen in your community and around the world for women?
Well, it's been very disturbing that we had a precedent that was almost 50 years old that has been affirmed again and again by the United States Supreme Court. Suddenly, because we have a differently composed court with number of conservatives, some people might call them extremists, suddenly that's overturned. And now it's left to each state to decide whether women will be able to have legal and safe and available and affordable abortions, which I think they must have. Of course, I had to have an abortion. I've spoken about this many years ago when I was in my 20s and before Roe v. Wade. when abortion was illegal, not for a woman to have it, but for a licensed healthcare provider to provide it. So we had to have back alley abortions. Many women died from those unsafe abortions provided by people who were not licensed and only did it for the money. I almost died, and I'll talk more about that in my remarks to the YWHISPER Gala, because we don't want anyone's daughter or wife or sister or mother to ever have to be subjected to an unsafe abortion. And we want access for women, not just women in urban centers. We want women all over to have access to a legal and safe abortion. And that doesn't exist now. And that's in the United States, and it doesn't exist, frankly, for every woman in Canada either.
Definitely. And again, I appreciate you bringing up your personal experience. I think that that's definitely inspired a lot of people who have issues with that. And one other thing I want to quickly talk about with you is that you've also represented the victims in the Harvey Weinstein case, which sparked the Me Too movement. So how do you think that that has affected society?
Yes, and I did represent the key prosecution witness in New York, where he was also convicted of criminal sexual assault. And also third-degree rape. I didn't represent the third-degree rape one, but the one who was a victim of criminal sexual assault, he was sentenced to 20 years in prison just on that count. And she was very brave to testify, and also represented three who testified at some point in this California case that was just decided, in which Mr. Weinstein, the defendant, now has been sentenced to 16 years in California for that. All I can say is I just have such admiration for the courage of women who are willing to testify, because before they testify on the witness stand, they have to go through hours and hours, sometimes days, of vetting by law enforcement and over what they're alleging happened, and providing all their social media where they talk about what happened, and interviewing sometimes family and friends to corroborate what happened. So they go through quite a lot, and they do it only because they do it for the cause of justice and not for any personal benefit to themselves. So when women have courage, it's inspiring to others. They inspire me every day, and they inspire others every day. And there's so many wrongs against women, which I'll talk about in my remarks in Canada next week on International Women's Day. There's so many wrongs against women, but the good news is women are fighting to win their rights, the right to respect, the right to dignity, the right to equal treatment under the law in every aspect of life, socially, politically, economically, legally. And that fight continues, and we are going to soldier on. And we're going to, with women of all ages, of all colors, of all ethnic origins, of all religions, we're in this together. Nobody's ever given us our rights. We're going to continue to fight to win them.
I love that. And again, such inspiring work that you do. We really appreciate it. And we're looking forward to having you here in Calgary next week.
I'm looking forward to coming. Oh, Canada, oh, Canada. I'm getting ready to fly.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, Gloria. Have a great day.
You too. Thank you. Bye.
The YWHISPER fundraising gala takes place on March 8th at the TELUS Convention Center. The event is sold out, but the silent auction is open to everyone. More information can be found online on the YW Calgary website, and that's where you can also find the silent auction information. And the proceeds will go to help the vulnerable women and families YW Calgary works with each year. And if you want to connect with Gloria Allred, you can go to her website, gloriaallred.com, or find her on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube.